Montessori Grandma. Episode 49. Montessori Zoology. Part 5. Vital Functions.
Montessori Zoology, Part 5, Vital Functions. Written and presented by Geeta Vijayachandran. Part 5 looks at another chart, the Vital Functions chart. This is done during the second year of elementary. That is when the children are about 7 or 8 years old. This is the Vital Functions chart, and we will look at it in more detail. The Vital Functions chart of animals. We have the first presentation, which is looking at preservation of life and preservation of species. In the second presentation, we will be examining the functions of non-chordates and chordates. Before coming to the new material, we need to take out the timeline of life, unroll it, and find the living beings on the timeline. The timeline constitutes as a reference, and all biology can be related to this. We can talk about the first living beings that are unicellular. Plant type of living beings must have preceded animal beings. We find the first ones are protozoans, and remember the protozoans are now in kingdom Protista. Preservation of life. Presentation 1. Material consists of the chart of vital functions. Here we need to discuss with children what life functions are. What does life function mean? A lot of functions are needed for life to exist. Now we need to take a lot of time with children for this presentation. Here we have a chart, and on this we can see 6 functions mentioned. The chart has red and green color around, and this is to show the basic functions are for both plants and animals. We need to distinguish between different kinds of functions. Let us think of the vital life functions that are essential for the preservation of life of an individual. Life functions, also known as life processes, are the essential activities that living organisms carry out to maintain their existence and reproduce. These functions include nutrition, circulation, respiration, reproduction, growth, movement, and sensitivity. All living beings have the same life functions, and these are functions that have to go on if life is to continue. By function, we mean certain processes that are needed to live. Let's look at some of them. Breathing. You breathe, I breathe, animals, plants, and all living things breathe. Another function is eating. All living things have to nourish themselves. Plants, animals, including humans, have different ways of eating. Circulation also takes place in plants and animals. Plant juices or sap is circulated in plants. In animals, blood is constantly circulated. All living beings have to carry out certain functions, and for this they need organs. Let us look at the vital functions chart. Here is the vital functions chart. We can see preservation of life, which deals with functions of vegetative life, that is building new protoplasm and building of energy. And this looks at respiration, nutrition, circulation. And here in respiration, we look at ingestion, digestion. Nutrition, we look at absorption, assimilation, and excretion. In functions of life of relationships, we look at locomotion and sensitivity, that is movement and behavior. In preservation of species, we look at reproductive function, that is asexual or agamic sexual. And we look at safeguarding of species, that is protection of young. Preservation of life is divided into 2. Vegetative life, this is building of new protoplasm and development of energy. And second, we look at functions of life of relationships. Look at vegetative life. Cells die and need to be renewed. This process goes on not only for replacing and maintaining the body, but also for growth. All of us eat because we need new protoplasm for new cells that have to replace old ones. It is also needed for growth. There is another reason also. Eating is also done to have energy, else we will get weaker. Let us look at what functions of vegetative life are involved in the building of protoplasm and energy. The first one is respiration, that is breathing. Children think eating is the most important function, but the function of respiration is the most important. And this is the first function that starts to operate when a child is born. Respiration is internally connected with nutrition as it is needed for energy. B. Nutrition. There are various stages involved, that is ingestion, that is taking enough food into the body in some way. This is done by all living beings. Second is digestion, that is transformation of food taken in order to be usable. The beginning stage takes place in the mouth, the second stage is in the stomach, and the third stage is in the intestines. By then, food is transformed in liquid form and is ready to be absorbed. Then comes absorption, that is the taking in all that is necessary from the food that is in the intestine. And D is assimilation. This is important after transformation and absorption, as assimilation deals with a part of the cells and how it is used to build protoplasm and new cells. Protoplasm is a final product of nutrition, and energy is also a final part of nutrition. Combustion or burning takes place in the body to produce energy. What enables this? Every living being takes in air when we breathe. What is a signal of production of energy? Warmth and heat. Oxygen is needed for any energy to take place. So there is a link between breathing and nutrition. We can show this by having a lighted candle, and when covered it burns for some time and then goes out. So oxygen is extremely important. Next is excretion. This goes on in all living beings. It is more advanced in human beings. There are some substances that are not needed and have to be eliminated. The process of getting rid of waste is called elimination. Let us look at circulation. This is how does blood flow? It flows through blood vessels. You find these are very advanced. All nutrients are carried by the blood, which contains proteins, etc., in addition to cells. That is the WBC and the RBC. Let us look at the next part, which is a function of the life of relationship. This deals with movement. In order to reach every single part of the body, there should be movement. Blood is like moving roadways in the body. Every single cell has to be reached. All living beings have to carry out these survival functions to survive. Movement means every living being responds or relates to its environment. We can see 2 points mentioned, locomotion and sensitivity. Plants look still, but they actually move. Regard sensitivity, there is a response to its environment. So behavior is in response to the environment. This is the same for all animals, from an ant to an elephant, and for a daisy to a tree. So locomotion, sensitivity, movement, and behavior all serve to keep a being alive. This is preservation of life. Preservation of species. We need to think of life continuing even after the individual. This means that preservation of species is as important as preservation of life. This preservation of species is important for 2 reasons. They have a reproductive function and preservation of species. The reproductive function means safeguarding of species. This is done in 2 ways, asexual and sexual. Asexual is also called agamic and is without marriage, so no distinction of sex. Agamic means occurring or reproducing without fertilization. It is from the Greek word agamos, meaning unmarried. Reproductive function is, let's continue with that. Sexual is with distinct sexes. Preservation of species is possible because of reproduction. Another important thing is safeguarding of species. This means the protection of the young babies or offsprings. This is true for plants and animals. It is not easy to see this in plants, but it is there. It is easy to see this in animals. Preservation of species, that is reproduction. Till now what we have done was concerned with the preservation of the individual. Now we can look at preservation of species. Here porifera, reproduction takes place through budding and by sexual. They have male and female cells, but animals are hermaphrodites, that is herm means male, that is a Greek god, and Aphrodite is a female god of beauty. Coelentrates are truly original. They are trying out a new way called alternation of generation. This is done in two ways. Generation comes through budding and generation comes through sexual reproduction. So alternates each time, budding, sexual, and so on. Let's look at worms, arthropods, mollusks, and echinodermats. Worms, also called annelids, we expect them to be special. Almost all of them are hermaphrodites, that is reproduction is sexual, and are oviparous, that is embryos develop inside eggs that are retained inside the mother. And some can reproduce from a part, that is like the tapeworm. Arthropods are mainly sexual reproduction. Sexes are different, but here hermaphrodites, but not in same animal. Lays eggs which are special and undergoes metamorphosis like butterfly, moth, etc. Mollusks have sexual reproduction. Sexes can be separate or hermaphrodites. They are oviparous, that is, they have eggs. Echinodermata reproduction is sexual as mollusks. They release eggs and eggs have a larva. Stage before becoming an adult, this is the same as a butterfly. Cephalochordata, sexual reproduction. Sexes are separate always and can't tell apart by looking. Fertilization is external. Male releases sperm on the eggs released by the females, and so fertilization takes place externally. The young hatch out and they look different to the adults. Vertebrates, cyclostomata, sexual reproduction, but sexes are separate. External fertilization takes place. They are oviparous and the young emerge as larvae. That is fish and Pisces, external sexual reproduction. Grouper takes 10 years to become a male. Sea bass belong to the family of the groupers. Amphibia and reptilia. Amphibia, these are the most important as far as reproduction is concerned. External and internal reproduction, so courtship of sexes. They lay eggs and the little ones are completely different from the adults, and so metamorphosis. Eggs are slimy, and Montessori says amphibians were the first with a voice. They could sing love songs and these were connected with fertilization. Till this, there were noise of thunder, lightning, waterfall, etc. only on earth. Reptilia have external fertilization. Eggs have a leathery covering for protection. Birds and aves. Fertilization is internal and males are more beautiful. Courtship is seen to be very extraordinary in some birds. They are warm-blooded. They lay eggs and incubate the eggs. We can see the birds take care of the eggs and protect the young by feeding them, educating them, etc. They have an advanced nervous and reproductive system, and we see love for the young. Birds build nests, lay eggs and incubate the eggs, and when eggs hatch, the parents take care of the young. In mammalia, sexes are different and fertilization is internal. They give birth to live young and mothers are able to create milk which constitutes as the first food of babies. They look after, protect and stay with the young. How long they stay with the mother depends on the animal. They educate the young, teach them to hunt, etc. Children can read up more about the various courtship scene, protection of the young, etc. Kittens mature very fast, whereas bears need more time. When we work through animals, look at changes. We can see as intelligence increases, love also increases. This brings us to the end of the lesson on vital functions. Thank you for watching. This is Geeta Vijayachandran signing off.
Montessori Grandma.